All right, it's Monday morning, so it's time to catch up with J Leman, our All-American analyst, to talk about an Illinois 23-17 victory over Florida Atlantic. A little too close for comfort, another slow start. Not finding the perfect game yet for Illinois here, Jay. This felt
No.
like it could be a get-right game. As I wrote, it was more kind of a get-by. But
Yep.
there was some good stuff in there. There were some concerns. So just overall thoughts on a win for Illinois in the non-conference finale.
Well, I think, like you said, it's a win. They got by. Certainly wasn't a complete game by any stretch of the imagination. We just haven't seen this team play its best ball yet on offense, defense, and special teams. Offense, the slow start, it continues to hamper the game plan of what Illinois wants to be under Brett Bielema, what they're built to be like under Brett Bielema. And so that's been a struggle. Good to see Luke Altmaier bounce back in a big way with a 300-yard passing game and largely took care of the football. Took some more sacks because he wasn't throwing the ball out, trying to get out, but he took some more sacks because of that, and the protection wasn't great. Defensively, probably one of the better defensive performance. It is one of the better defensive performances we've had in tight conditions. I thought they played a little bit better against Penn State as far as if you level it out for the competition. But I thought some of the areas where they were put in to really get us out of a jam and make some red zone stops. I believe there was maybe 3 drives within the red zone. They came back with nothing. And that was the difference in the football game, along with a couple big plays in the vertical passing game.
Yeah, Jay, let's start with the concerns. I want to get to the positives because I do think there were some real positives of this performance. But let's start with the slow starts. Illinois has been outscored 33-7 in the first quarter, and that's 7 points from the offense in the first quarter through 4 games is a concern. How do you fix that? What does Illinois need to address?
Well, we saw the opening drive of the season. It was fantastic, right? We're like, wow, this is amazing, right? So they were ready for that one. But since then, we've had a lot of – let's just talk about the initial drives. We've seen missed field goals. We've seen going for it on fourth down. Like they went for it on fourth down. Was it about 4th and 2 or 3 maybe?
4th and 3, yeah.
From like the 20? I mean, it wasn't that far out, and I know that – Caleb Griffin and then Alano, I know they've kind of gone back and forth on kicking as far as, well, at least on kickoffs. And so, 1, they just haven't finished drives great. 2, they've had some penalty issues that have backed them up some. But again, I think the main thing is they have not been able to establish the run game. If you look at the first, we did get the run game going later on in this game, but if you look at the first 7 or 8 runs, they're pretty right? I mean, they're not great. And when we can't establish the run game, we simply don't have a developed passing attack enough to actually put points on the board in a consistent manner. We are a complementary football team. I will say this. We haven't gotten a ton of turnovers by the defense either, right? So we haven't had just layups for field position. That happened sometimes last year. We would get the ball at the 20 or the 30 and score, right? So I think it all comes together, but I don't think Luke Altmaier has played his best in the first quarter. I don't think the running backs have played and the offensive line have played, and we haven't executed at critical times.
Yeah, and turnovers, huge problem. I mean, they were huge winners in the turnover margin last year, Jay. So far this year, 10-4. And even they forced 6 fumbles, have only gotten 1 of them back, but only a couple interceptions so far this year. They lost 2-1 to Florida Atlantic, and some of those turnovers right in the red zone for Florida Atlantic. So they need to clean that up offensively. I think you're right on the other side of it is the defense. I think their next step is getting some more of those takeaways.
Yeah, we're just not. Listen, we know that we lost 3 of the top 70 picks in the draft, right? It's well documented. So we're going to have some production that goes down. It also seems like a revolving door on the back end, to be honest. I mean, Zach Toby, I think, played great, but we can't keep Tyler Strain or Taz on the field. And that's an issue. It's not normal for corners to get as banged up as those 2 guys. Not their fault. It's just, I don't know if it's the style of game we're playing or what's going on, but they're just really banged up. So we haven't had consistency in the back end. Usually your safeties will lead you in interceptions, right? That's been a revolving door. Matthew Bailey has obviously played all of like a quarter, and he will not play any of the rest of the season. Xavier Scott has had to play all kinds of different positions. Clayton Bush is in and out. We've had a lot of we had a pick drop by what is the new guy from New Jersey?
Sabor Kareem, yeah.
Okay, I haven't looked at the pronunciation, guys, but Sabor had a pick that he could have had, right? But a good read. He'll learn. So when you have a lot of back end players that are new, you're going to have less picks, and they're still trying to find out what defense they actually do want to run.
The other one, before we get to the position group I'm concerned about, is the penalties, Jay. 6 for 72 yards in this game. Zy Chrysler's holding negates a phenomenal throw by Luke Altmaier, by the way,
Right.
to Pat Bryant. And then defense. They had several personal foul penalties in that one. So those cropped up again.
We were watching the game at Big Ten Network on Saturday, and one of the guys in the green room we're watching it says, it just seems every time we watch Illinois, there's after the whistle penalties. I believe it was a late hit here and there. And they've just got to clean that up. I mean, it's like, it's just been they've been at critical times a lot of times, and they've just been, it just looks bad on the whole discipline of the program and how we're teaching players to play. It's like I've said, this team wants to be chippy, but sometimes it needs to be chippy inside the whistles, right? Not outside the whistles. The holdings were not pretty. Some of them were ugly. Some of them were obvious. And so we just got to be better all around. Again, we have not played our best game yet. We haven't played a complete game yet. And I think what's disappointing is that we have high expectations with this team, and they really haven't met those expectations yet. Not all is lost. They certainly haven't met those expectations yet. I will say, hey, big picture, they've lost to two pretty good football teams. Kansas looks to be like a good football team. The Penn State win with what they did at Iowa, maybe it wasn't that bad of a game. The dismantling of Iowa, when I watched that entire game, and it was a sad state of affairs. So they have two good losses, if you can call it. I don't think their two wins are great because they're non-Power 5 wins. We're still looking for our first Power 5 win.